Hey man, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Little tired today. Today I'm starting to wear down a little bit today.
Well,
I know.
frazzled.
A
Frazzled.
little frazzled. There's just fixing some bugs that were kind of critical, and then I don't know. Yeah, getting a little sick too. The baby was sick. I swear we just keep recycling like sickness sometimes in this house. Yeah, just normal human baby family stuff.
Yeah. Human
Um,
baby family stuff.
yeah. Um, so yeah. Um, so you had brought up an interesting thing the other day about we were talking about demos. I forget what episode again. It was like a couple episodes ago. We were talking about doing demos and talking to people. And I was chewing on it a little bit. And I was actually there's a really great. This also kind of stemmed from I was listening to Tim Ferriss. He's been doing these podcasts too. He's been going crazy doing podcasts lately. And he talks with is it Brian Johnson? Brian
Yeah.
something? Is it
Yep.
Johnson who started Braintree?
Yep.
And they were talking about basically uncommoditizing. Brian before Braintree was just kind of going and doing like walking door to door. He was doing credit card processing sales. Like he couldn't get a job, he was broke, he had like two kids, and he was just going door to door selling credit card processing. And he became like the top. Like I have a friend who's done this, and I don't think he'll be upset if he watches and I admit it. He wasn't good at it because it's hard. Like it's a thankless job. You get paid nothing. It's like 100% commission, and you're seriously just walking door to door and asking people if they want to change credit card processing. And so people suck at this. Nobody is able to do well at this. Except he did it, and he kicked ass. And he did it just by like just talking to people, being very transparent about things. I don't know, just listening to his story and what he was doing with Braintree. Everybody should listen to the podcast with Tim. It's a really good kind of overview of Brian's kind of life and how he got into this. But I started doing, I've started emailing people by a phone number. So the new customers that come in, I've been using bulk email in HighRise. This is a feature that no one else has yet. It's just me. I get to use it. But I've been emailing new customers. I send them this email every day. I change it up. So it's a bulk email, but I kind of make it about what's going on. I make it something I saw today or something new at HighRise. But at the end of it now, I've been including my phone number. I've been telling people like, hey, there's all these ways to talk to us and get a hold of us, and you can read new stuff on our blog. But here's a phone number to reach me. And I'm just using Google Voice. So in case this goes bad and someone forwards this onto the internet, I'm not going to get assaulted. I could change the number or whatever, but it's, oddly, like these emails, and I've done this before with Draft, and I've shared a phone number before too in some blog posts for HighRise. Very few people call. I think everybody's worried they're going to get slammed with phone calls, but it's rare that anybody calls. And then when I do get a call, when I do talk to someone on the phone, it's usually a really good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If people worry about this, and I don't think you have to. It's okay to share a phone number. I mean, protect yourself. Use Skype or use Google Voice, but sharing a phone number hasn't been a very bad thing for us.
So, a couple things. First of all, Brian Johnson's an amazing human being. I remember way back, we were one of Braintree's first big customers, software as a service customers. We were using Chase Payment Tech at the time, and then Brian got a hold of us somehow and pitched us on Braintree and sold us. And it's kind of a hassle to switch providers. And he handled it so beautifully. I felt like we were in amazing hands. I still to this day feel Brian doesn't run Braintree anymore. It's owned by PayPal now and the whole thing. But at the time, I still think that our experience with Braintree was the best experience I've ever had with any external vendor, period. Which is an amazing thing to say about credit card processing, because I've been trying to charge people on credit cards for years and years and years, ever since when I was making software back in high school. And getting a merchant account and going through that whole process was so incredibly difficult and painful, and you felt like you were being cheated, and it was just nasty. And Braintree really made us feel great and were incredibly supportive and helpful. And the organization he built was fantastic, and I think he probably built it in his own model because he himself is a fantastic person. So anyway, anytime Brian talks, people should listen. About the phone number thing, I think I want to do that too. I think I want to include, send out a phone number when we launch Basecamp 3, maybe to 100 random customers a day, send a personal note and include my phone number, and I'll include a Google Voice one. and just see who calls. We experimented with, for years, we'd been afraid of doing a phone support, afraid not of the support, but of the demand for it. We were worried that we would get inundated with calls instead of people sending us emails instead. And so we sort of limped into it slowly, and it turns out that it's not that big of a deal. We get a handful of calls a day, totally manageable, no big deal. But I think having a phone number visible for people, or knowing that that's an option, makes them feel very comfortable even if they don't use it. And I think in many ways it's just saying you're accessible, and everyone likes to do business with someone who's accessible, even if they don't access them. So I think that's the real lesson behind the phone. And then when someone does call, like you said, like, what a great opportunity to learn something new and to talk to somebody about something that you didn't know, or they didn't know, or show them something they weren't aware of. And the bonds you can form through that call are amazing. So I think it's a really good idea to start doing this. So I think I'm going to start doing that. I read a post today, by Anil Dash on ad blocking and stuff, and in his Medium signature, I don't know what they call it, at the byline or something. Byline, I guess, at the end of the articles, he has his phone number.
Oh, I
don't know
had
if
no
it's
idea.
his or if it's Google Voice, but his phone number is in the byline of his articles, and he gets widely read. He's widely read, so he's sharing his phone number, and it's like, why not? We all share Twitter handles. It's like we share these things that we don't want to be responsible for. Like, if you hit me up on Twitter, I don't have to get back to you, and if you hit me up an email, I don't have to get back to you, sort of. But there's an expectation that if you share a phone number, that if someone calls you, you should answer or call them back. And I feel like that's why people maybe don't use the phone numbers as often. But I think it's a good practice and a good thing to experiment with.
Yeah, and I feel like, you could even, it's one of those things where just like, if you really worry about it, if it really bothers you that you might be inundated,
stop doing it.
Well, you can stop doing it, or set an expectation even with the voicemail message, right? Like, don't pick up. Hey, leave a voicemail. I'll try and get back to as many people as I can. I mean, there's ways of doing this. It's not like, it doesn't have to be that binary thing that I think people fear. Like, oh my God, my phone number's out. I'm not going to get anything done.
Right.
So yeah, it's been cool. I haven't regretted it. There's been some weird stuff during, working on draft. Someone got a hold of the phone number and thought I was like the Archdiocese of Chicago and called multiple times a day. They were asking about all sorts of, and unfortunately this person was having some trouble. Like, just things weren't normal in their life, and it just wasn't, it's something I could handle. I mean, they were talking about calling the cops and all these things happening. It was just wild, the voice messages that I was getting.
Mm-hmm.
But you can change the number, or delete the number and get a new one. It's not permanent. So
yeah, for a while my phone number was similar to the Indian consulate in Chicago or something, and I would get calls occasionally for that. So I know that feeling. But anyway, yeah, phone numbers maybe not to be feared. And I've been doing these demos for the past week for Basecamp 3 beta with customers. Had a couple really good demos the last few days. But what's cool about it is that you're talking out loud and you're hearing people's voice, and things just come up that wouldn't have come up if I was explaining it on a website or something. Just there's opportunity when you're talking to someone. There's an opportunity to listen, which is different than if you just talk, which is what like a marketing page might do. It might just send a message. But a marketing page or a video on a site, it cannot listen. It doesn't listen, and it's like you can explain all these things all day long that you want, but maybe better is to listen to and then explain. Like, listen first and explain. So there's something to it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Another
thing that comes from the emails that I send out. Another thing that comes from the emails that I send out is that most of us, after someone signs up, we'll send, an automated email, and it's important, right? Hey, you signed up for HighRise. Here's the link to get back to your account, right? All of that's important. But most people kind of, as soon as it happens, you like immediately are like, it's an automated email. This is just something you'll probably ignore or whatever. So I've also made it a point of like making these things like personal, like, and granted, like I'm sending them to a lot of people, so I'm not handwriting each one of them. If there is someone I see in the list of people that I know or have some other affiliation with, I'll try, I'll send them something a little bit more personal, but it's a template, that I change and I try and keep fresh, but I try and make it's not like this, gorgeous looking email. It's just a plain text message. Like, it's just real. It's just, hey, it's me. It's from my personal email address. You can email me anytime. And I think that's really important. And a lot of people send out these gorgeous, beautiful newsletters and hope that gets the job done. But I think it's like people have like blindness to like beautiful emails these days. Like, but when you get a text thing, it's like, somebody email me. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna reply to them if I have to. And I think that's been important. And you know, I've been sending these with draft for a long time, and I get like really meaningful replies back. And some people are even like, look, I know this is probably automated, but man, this was such a nice thing to hear, that like from a human, knowing that I can just email you back and like we can have, and I try to reply to everybody, you know, that emails. And these days I've been a little bit bad about it, but it's been a strength of mine in the past. But anyway, that's, I think, also a key ingredient, like not putting all this gloss on everything, because people want like just a real email from somebody.
Speaking of that, we've been working on the Basecamp 3 email designs, because you know, we have in-app notifications. We've got iPhone push notifications and Android push notifications, but you can still get emails if you choose not to get the other notifications, or if you don't have the phone app installed and you know your app's not open on your desktop, you still get an email fallback, whatever, right? We've been sort of going back and forth on how much do we want to format the emails? How like custom should the emails look versus how stripped down should the emails look? Like, should the emails that Basecamp send look just like an email that a person would have sent because the person is sending the email? So what we've kind of not fallen into, but like ended up with, is that system messages, things like, trying to think of a good example, like if someone mentions you, or if someone assigns you something, and the system is telling you about the assignment or telling you about the mention, we have like a nice formatted, simple email for that, which is like clearly from Basecamp, the system that you're using. But then if you write a message or write up a document and send it to somebody or whatever, that's more like an email. And so it looks more like an email. It doesn't have a header. It does have a footer, because you want to maybe unsubscribe or a couple of things, but we've eliminated all the header stuff, and it's just like the text. And anyway, it's interesting what like I see this a lot in newsletters too, email newsletters, which is everyone's sort of tempted to, I get them all day long, right? I've subscribed to them, or people subscribe to me without telling me, or whatever it is, right? You get an email newsletter from a brand. I'm like, I didn't sign up for that one, but I get it. And a lot of them are highly formatted. And part of the reason why is, I mean, they may test well, so maybe they work. I don't even know. I'm just gonna like leave that out of the equation just for a moment. But a lot of the newsletter mailing tools that exist, you've got, you know, MailChimp and Campaign Monitor and Emma and Constant Contact, and you name it, right? They have these really nice editors now, and beautiful templates, and they sort of encourage you to make these web pages that are emailed around, basically, or like brochure pages that are emailed around. And then occasionally I get an email from, there's this company called Sweetwater, which is a music company. I forget where they're based, but they send you emails that are just look like an email. And it's like, the tone is right, and it's just an email, and your emails are similar to that too. And I read those. I actually read those. And I kind of throw the ones out that look like brochures, because they're not really readable. They're like excerpts. It's like no one's actually communicating. No one's actually writing to you. They're just sort of sending you blocks of stuff. And it's like, well, you know, if you're going to write to me, write to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think there's something to just scaling back on the slick, and just getting to the point, and actually communicating with people. And people are going to read that. A lot of people say, like, I don't read newsletters. Well, you don't read them because there's nothing to read. They're like, there's no flow, there's no story, there's no continuity. There's just blocks of previewed content. Well, that's not something to read. Who wants to read that? You know?
Yeah. I know it's like an arms race of, you've talked about like the arms race of features. I mean, this is kind of an arms race of just like glossy design, like who can have the most beautiful pictures and style of an email. An example is, I'm going to pick on Virgin America a little bit here. Like, I just tweeted about them because they had a beautiful little thing that caught my attention, which was like a little animated, almost kind of like a little spy, or like he was drinking a martini or something, right? He was supposed to be kind of like I don't know what, a globe trotting, martini drinking person who loves to go on Virgin America flights or something. And it looked really cool. I mean, there was this whole little animation of holding the martini glass and putting the vodka in, and then an olive drop in. And it was interesting, but like, you know, I took like a little GIF of the image and I posted it to Twitter, and people really, you know, liked sharing it or whatever. I never clicked through the email. I don't know what it was an advertisement for something. I don't even know. Like,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that thing you posted.
I have no idea what it was about.
Yeah.
Some sort of discount, I think, but I don't know. They weren't writing me. They were just trying to get my attention, and I don't know. I was busy. Anyway, that's a really good point. Yeah, and you've been talking about this before too, about writing and websites, and like, you know, starting from, you know, getting rid of the gloss, right? I mean, you've even like talking about like starting with like writing the website first. Did you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. Actually, I'll show you this. So we'll do our first screen share here. Let me do this. Hang on. Let me know when you can see some text.
Yep, got it. Oh,
so,
I saw me first. Oh, I got to stop talking. Done.
Oh yeah, hang on. Let me lock me in here. I think this will work. Okay. Whoa. Are you seeing text documents now?
Yes.
Okay.
As soon as I talk, though. Okay, now I'm gonna stop talking because as soon as I talk, my face shows up. Okay, go.
All right. So I'm designing. Oh my God, this is crazy. Hang on, I gotta take a screenshot of this. This is craziness. I don't know what's happening. There's like a crazy mirror effect. Hopefully people are seeing my couple text documents up here. I'm working on working on our marketing site. And I used to make marketing sites by like going into an HTML editor by hand and designing the pages and you know, going through all that first kind of, and then, you know, writing content as I went, designing it as I went. And now I'm just breaking it. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just writing text documents as a way to start, to help me just focus purely on what I want to communicate and how I want to communicate it. And then I'll put it into a design that communicates that well. So for example, what I'm doing is I'm splitting these into, the way I want to structure these pages is I want to have 4 sections, which is the what, the why, the pitch, and the how it works. So the what is like, what's the headline or the name of this page going to be? It's like, I'm writing one right now on report. I'm calling it writing, but this is actually designing. I'm designing the page that's going to explain reports. And so reports, and the headline is going to be a know-it-all. And why? Well, you know, you're responsible for stuff in the project. You got to make sure stuff's getting done. You need a big picture view. You need to be able to cut across a bunch of work to get answers quickly. You need to know who's working on what, who's responsible for what, and if anything's late and what's coming up due. And your job is to be a know-it-all. Your job is that, and that's what Basecamp reports are for. Okay, so that's the why. And then the pitch is how, like the pitch is okay. So that the why is like these are the things you need to know, and the pitch is like our solution for those things. So it's like, well, here's the pitch. Like, we've made a single place in Basecamp where you can go and run XYZ report. You don't need to go find them in different areas. They're in one place. You can always get back to them. You can send them to other people if other people need to see them. Like, here's the pitch. And then how does it work? Well, here's what they are. Here's how you get to them. Here, I'm going to describe each one and get down to the nitty gritty. But the point is that I'm doing this. We have another feature in the new Basecamp called Client Side, which is all about working with clients. And you know, I'm doing the same thing. So what is it? I'm still working on this one. Like, why? Well, you just landed a client. Time to start up a new project. You want to keep your team facing forward. You got to assign work to them. You want to have discussions about work that's in progress. You want to know what's going on, all this stuff. You also want to keep the client up to date occasionally and loop them in on things and let them know what's going on and send them updates and get their approvals. But you don't want to mix the front of the house and the back of the house. You don't want the clients to see something they shouldn't see. And that's the why. And the pitch is, okay, we made this thing called client side. It lets you keep your team's discussions and your client discussions entirely separate. You can be completely confident that your clients are not going to see the stuff they should not see. And so, okay, that's the pitch. And like, here's how it works. And I'm just kind of writing up how it works. And I know there's gonna be pictures in between helping to pitch the story, but I got to get the words right. I got to get the story right. And so I'm just using text documents to do that. And it's like a really liberating way to make sure that you're communicating clearly first, that if there was no design whatsoever, and I emailed this to somebody, they would understand what I'm trying to say, versus having to say, well, in order to get this, you've got to have all the structure around it. You've got to have big pictures and animations and things slotting by each other. Nope, I just want to make sure that the story's right. And so I want the story to be right in any medium. Text, graphics, whatever I need to do, but I got to start with the words. So anyway, that's the idea. Let me stop sharing my screen. Oh my God, it's out of control right now.
It's turtles all the way down. Is that what the expression is? But
anyway,
dude, yeah, I think it's a really, like, looking at that, and I think a lot of people don't realize, like, you could put that up as a website. You don't even have to design it. If you could figure out how to get that out. I mean, you've done this too before. You've done it with sites like Know Your Company. You've made it look like a letter. Even 37signals.com right now is a letter about how 37signals.com has become Basecamp. And we get still a bunch of traffic to High-Rise from it. And High-Rise is just a little mention at the bottom of like a PS of that letter. I mean, people are reading this stuff. You can launch just a letter. Like, it's doable. And I bet if more people try, they can get those things to convert well. Like, it's not a bad thing to just put out a bunch of words.
I think it's absolutely effective. I mean, you know, we'd want to A/B test it in the whole thing, but the fundamental point is that, you got to know what you're going to communicate, and I think that you should nail that first.
Yep.
And graphic design and animation can help you sell your point, but if you don't have those tools in your tool belt at the moment, you still ought to be able to sell. You still ought to be able to explain what it is that you have, and explain your wares, and then show people why this is good and why they could use it or how it relates to them. And words are what you need for that. If you are standing around somewhere and someone asks you about your product, all you have are words. Like, yeah, you can pull your phone out and show them, but if you don't have that, like, if you need to just talk to somebody, how would you do it? And that's what I'm trying to boil down to when I'm trying to explain these different things that Basecamp does. First, starting with like the why, like the why, like what is the moment in someone's head where they're like, I need to do this. I'm struggling with this. This is a situation I'm in. And then, okay, so then we're going to pitch you this feature, this tool that we built that helps you with that. And then if those two things align, like, well, here's how it works, and you can actually get into the details. Anyway, that's the structure. But the point I want to get to is that you can design, like, writing is design. In fact, I've said this before, and I believe it to be true. If you can either invest in rewriting your site or redesigning your site, I would rewrite the site. I would make sure that the words are right versus the graphics are right, because you can launch with just words, like you said. You can write a letter, you can write a great letter, and people will read it if it's compelling and it matches what's in there. Like, if someone's motivated to find out what you have to say, they're going to read the thing. So anyway, I'm a big fan of that. So anyway, I'm working on that. And we built some templates out. So like, once the writing's done, I can just kind of pop it into a couple different templates that are appropriate, and I can insert images and align things properly in the whole thing. But that is about adding value, or not value, I don't like that term, adding detail and clarity on top of a foundation that can live on its own as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's a similar thing I've been kind of learning a little bit more about. You know, we've talked on this show before about, you know, we haven't paid much attention. We're losing some of our search traffic recently to High-Rise, and so I've been exploring, you know, search engine optimization and specifically looking, you know, most people who do search engine optimization, there's two big goals: on page search engine optimization and like links, you know, people linking back to you. And an interesting thing that you can do to really quickly check your kind of how well you're optimized for search is something very similar to kind of what we're talking about here. It's like, you can go, if you go to the Google search for your page and do the cache, go to the cached version of your page, and then Google will have a link to click like text only, so you can see the text of your site. It's insane what you see some people's sites are going through. Like the entire, first hundreds of words is all navigation. It's all, crap from images. And it's just like, and everybody, a lot of search engine people, experts will say, like, you've got to get rid of that stuff. You've got to, raise what your site is about, to the top, because that's what Google sees, but that's also what people see when they go to a site, and like, they're just crowded with tons of navigation versus like important words about what the site is about, what you do, what the problem you're fixing is. It changes the game there too. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting just to focus on black and white words. Don't worry about the gloss right now.
Yeah. And I know that there's another train of thought, which is saying like, well, design isn't something you paint on at the end. And I'm not suggesting I'm painting anything on. I'm suggesting I'm building the wall first before I am painting the wall. Like, let's just face it, that you can't put paint on something if it doesn't exist yet. So like this whole thing about design, like not being this thing that you put on something. Well, I agree with the fundamentals behind that, but that's not really what I'm talking about. That's jewelry. That's looking at design as jewelry, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting putting up the drywall, which is the fundamental foundation of I'm creating a canvas of words basically, and then I am putting the paint on the words afterwards to help the words stand out more. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this. So that's how I would think about it. Yeah, totally. That's great. It's an awesome point. Doing that, and what else? What else is going on? Was there another topic that you put up today, this morning? I do, but it's probably a little too deep for 3 minutes left or 2 minutes left. Okay. How about here's maybe just a softball, quick one. Like, how do you recharge? Like, you're obviously spending a lot of time thinking, and my brain is racing like crazy. Some nights I don't even get enough sleep because I'm not staying up because I have to work. I'm staying up because like my brain can't turn off. How do you turn off, and how do you recharge? Like, what do you do to kind of like re-inspire yourself? Is there anything that's kind of top of mind for that? Yeah, I mean, I try and make sure I exercise at least a few days a week. Been riding my bike in the morning for about a half hour, about 5-mile rides, 2 to 3 days a week, lifting weights a couple days. I'm working a little bit less than I normally do, but I need that. Like, I just need that. If I don't do that, I'm jittery and it's no good. But I also, for me, I go on walks. I need to be moving. If I'm sitting still, I feel like my brain is then using all of my energy, and that's kind of what I don't like. Yeah. So I want to sort of even out my energy, and taking a walk's a good way to do that. Also does help me think, but in a more fluid, different way. And then I try and get out in nature as much as I possibly can. That is the thing that really recharges me most. Is like taking a walk in the woods if I can, or down the street, a tree-lined street versus a street with no trees. Just seeking out whatever you can, at least in an urban environment where I live, and you live. There are parts that are more green than others, and just being in those really helps me recharge. And I think there's actually some really interesting studies coming out, and it's like you don't even need studies about this. It's just like nature sense, right? But there's some interesting studies about I don't know if it's stress reduction or information retention. There's some interesting points about just simply actually being near or seeing. Actually, I think it's just simply seeing. Even if you're looking at trees through a window, there's something going on. Yeah, the color green and the color blue do amazing things for your mind or something like that. And so if you can look at trees out your window, you like. I forget. You're right. It was like productivity or memory or something like that. Yeah. But I just anecdotally, like, I absolutely feel different when I spend some time outside. Yeah. And the walking stuff I think is super important. Paul Graham, whenever you go visit him for office hours at Y Combinator, especially some of the important things that need talking through, he walks. He's constantly walking around. You go visit Paul Graham, you are going to have a walk around the neighborhood. And like, I remember Steve Jobs used to do this, and I think Mark Zuckerberg's a big fan of this. Whenever he's like trying to interview or bring on a new recruit or talking about through some tough problems, he's just constantly walking.
And yeah, there's something very magical about walking and talking, and it totally changes everything from just sitting there still trying to, think about everything. I don't know. It's, yep.
I think communication is rhythmic, and walking is rhythmic, and walking usually you have a fixed tempo, and there's something very very much like a backbeat when you walk, which is that there's a steady, constant timing, and I think that sets up the song of your thoughts basically, and it just helps things flow, and it creates a structure, but it's a tempo and it's a movement, and I think there's just something about ideas flowing. We talk about ideas flowing. It's hard for something to flow when you're sitting still. That's not what flow is not about. That it's about moving, so I think walking is like such a wonderful way to break through on an idea, or to get through to somebody, or to come to some sort of compromise, versus standing still and sitting across a table. It's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Cool. Dude, we crossed 600 subscribers too.
I saw that. We're like 617 or something before the show. So that's awesome. That's fun. Let's get up to 700 next. That's the next goal. Just step by step here.
I lost your audio.
So if you like what you're hearing here, please subscribe. There's a button down below to subscribe to our channel. Is it below? Yep.
There's probably one there, and there's probably one there. Yeah.
Please subscribe. Whenever the new video is posted, it'll let you know, and that'll help us out quite a bit. So thanks for watching.
Thank you, everyone. Talk to you later.
Yeah.